I should throw Yasmin under the bus. So Yasmin is outside. She works at talkSPORT.
Yeah.
She's a big cock here at talkSPORT. And she said to me, she went, I love James Corden. I never knew he knew so much about football.
Oh, wow.
So that's nice that that's coming across, right? Because people, obviously, when they see famous people like you and they see you as an actor or presenter or whatever, they don't necessarily know that you are as engrossed and ingrained in football as the rest of us. You absolutely...
Yeah, it's probably the thing I talk about most in my
Do you find it frustrating that you can't talk about it more?
Yeah. I want to talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all my chat groups on my like WhatsApp are all about they're just all about football. And then we've even got splinter chat groups within bigger chat groups. You know, it's like
you should go live after games with a rant.
Are you ever surprised when you meet all these superstars? Do they ever talk to you about football, like the American market? Have you ever met a Hollywood superstar and he's gone, "Hey, I must talk to you about your mate David Beckham"?
Not that I can think of. Not off the top of my head that anyone that really gets in the weeds of it. You know,
but it's nice, right? Because if you don't know someone and they turn to you and go, "Who's your team?" It's like, "Oh, okay, we're going to be friends forever."
That's great. Yeah.
And the opposite, right? If you go, "Who's your team?" and they go, "I don't like football," you're like, I don't want to be stuck with you.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, all right, mate.
Yeah. All right, Gabby. Who dresses you? Right. Let's talk to you about Spygate.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Very bizarre situation.
It is.
I don't know if you heard the top of the show, but for the life of me, there's no way I can see Southampton being kicked out of a competition. But I think they should have a heavy fine.
I think with a lot of these things, when you kick when we all sort of talk in broad brushstrokes and kick them out the competition and things like that, I think you're not really thinking about all of the fans that were in St Mary's last night. Those players, there was like none of those players on the pitch were like, "Oh, Gaffer, can we get a deeper look at what they're doing on set pieces?" I think it's funny. I was listening to Henry Winter, who said a financial ban is irrelevant, and I don't know if that's right, because I think if Southampton go up, they will make what from the TV revenue
150 plus.
So let's say it's 100. Let's just say it's 150 million pounds. Then you've got to give 50% of next year's revenue, whichever league you're in, to Middlesbrough, because because you're cheating, and it is cheating.
Yes,
if found guilty.
Yeah. Which I think is pretty bang on.
Okay.
Your cheating has prevented them from progressing to go up to the Premier League. Next year, regardless of whatever league you're in, 50% of your revenue, or your projected revenue, so it has to be paid at the start of the season, will be paid to them as compensation. So if they go up, they've got to give them £75 million, which basically means Southampton will probably go up next season. Middlesbrough will go up next season.
I do love that, right? But the only problem with it is the fans that will be missing out, because the fans will be saying, "Well, we don't really care about the money. We don't get a cut of that. We're going to miss out on Premier League football."
Yeah, but Middlesbrough with £75 million starting next season,
they're in a better place. Yeah,
it's going to be incredible. They will, they should go up at a canter. I would imagine. That's what
I think, Zod, is that what would they have learned from spying? Is it someone's going to take a certain set piece? Is there a player that's meant to be injured that's going to play? It's so ridiculous to put yourself in these situations, isn't it? For that.
It's difficult to know. I don't know enough about how training, what I mean? I don't know enough about what you would or wouldn't see, but there's, you've also got to ask the question, is this something they've been doing all season? Is this something they've been doing in other games?
Yeah.
Can other teams go, are you in a position now where other teams this season could go, well, hang on, let's look back at our game. And they absolutely, how did they know that we were going to play that short corner? Because look at where their players are placed.
Yeah.
I think we should also stop calling it Spygate, and we should just call it cheating. It's just cheating. Yes. You're just cheating the system. That's all you're doing. You're cheating those fans. You're cheating those players. So therefore, you should have to pay, I think, a very severe and heavy price, which I imagine they will do. I imagine that's what it will be. I imagine it will be a financial, but I cannot see a world.
Nor can I.
Where you could, because they'll just wrap it up in so much red tape. It's the same as like the Man City, the 115 charges and all these things. It's this 115 charges is insane how long it's been going.
Yeah. I think it's 1 year per charge. We got to wait before we find out.
But it is nuts, and I think the only way you can deal with like I've got real feelings about like FFP and PSR and all those things, but the financial regulations. And if you have broken those things, the idea that like there's maybe 3 or 4 clubs have been charged and paid the fines or taken the deductions or whatever. I think the rules should be, as long as an investigation is taking place, you cannot sign any more football players, which would make the clubs go, well, we want this wrapped up as soon as possible. Because if you look at January, and Man City were 9 points adrift of Arsenal, and they go and they buy the 2 best players in the Premier League that are available to them at that point.
Yeah.
They go, we need a defender, get Gahey, and they get Semenyo, who was without question at that moment the best player that was available to them at that point. They claw those 9 points back and it's done. Then what's going to happen, probably this summer, or September sort of time, maybe, whatever the Premier League decide will come out, then they're going to appeal it. So that's another 12 months.
I agree with everything you're saying, but the problem is you're effectively saying it's guilty until found innocent, right?
No, you're saying you cannot operate financially.
I know, but if you're found not guilty, then you've wasted maybe 2-3 transfer windows, and that's not fair.
Yeah. But fair since none of it's fair. FFP isn't fair.
I know, but it is innocent till proven guilty, right? You should be allowed to go on your merry way.
But you also shouldn't be allowed. Okay, so maybe you give a 12-month window. If this goes past 12 months and we feel that you as a club are dragging this on.
I like the way we've negotiated down to 12 months there.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I
do understand that these things are complex and none of these things are
look at Leicester.
Black and white.
Leicester lost points this season.
Yeah.
Leicester
that happened quick.
Everton lost points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it comes back to this notion that now we are in a position, I think, where the Premier League are absolutely terrified of any damage happening to this, what we call the top 6.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're all joking about Tottenham going down and how much all that like it and all those things. If West Ham go down, right, it's a football story, okay? If Tottenham go down, I think it's a boardroom story. I think the sort of ramifications of that it does to the Premier League if Tottenham go down are more extraordinary than any of us can ever begin to imagine. I think it is crazy that you're probably talking about 250 to 400 million pounds of value gets wiped off every other top 6 team, right? Because no one's going to be buying or talking about buying Aston Villa or Man United or Liverpool. 2 of the 3 of those have been put up for sale within the last 3 years, going, come and take us if you'd like to. Suddenly you're like, well, no, because if Tottenham can get relegated, anyone can get relegated. The valuations of these teams are going, and then by proxy of that, the valuation of the Premier League drops down. And I think the Premier League are going, this is a disaster for us. It's a disaster if Tottenham go down.
You think they'd rather West Ham then?
No question. I'm not saying there's any conspiracy. I don't believe that for a second.
No, I understand what I do
think
I get that.
When they put in the FFP and the PSR, they sold us this thing that, like, this is just to protect smaller teams from going out of business. We're protecting communities and all those things. And there is an element of truth to that. But what I really believe they were doing is pulling up the ladder and pulling up the drawbridge to protect the top 6, because all you're doing now is rewarding historical success.
Yes.
Because what you're saying is, if you can only lose 100 million every 3 years, right? But if your revenue, so take Brentford's kit sponsor, right? Brentford's kit sponsor next year, they've got a new sponsor coming in. I think I'm right in saying they're paying between 7 and 10 million pounds a season, right? To sponsor the front of the shirt. Yeah. Tottenham, AIA, is 40 million a season. And they, by the way, don't have a relegation clause. So if Tottenham go down, AIA still have to pay 40 million a season. How is it fair that you can never, ever bridge that gap? You just can't get close to it because the revenues,
look at Newcastle now, right?
Yeah.
The richest owners in the world of sport.
And you can't move.
No.
So what? And
Manchester United finished so low in the table last season, but they're going to spend over 200 million.
Now, I don't believe that you should ever put a club into debt that you can't afford. However, I think if you can prove, we're not lumbering any debt on the club here. We are paying cash. We've got the money.
Yeah.
We want to pay it. Let us do whatever we want. There is no debt here. We're not lumbering Newcastle United or Aston Villa or Everton with any debt. We're lumbering them with nothing. We are spending this money ourselves because we own the club. You should be allowed to. And that top 6, and this is what you're seeing with the Man City charges and all those things, they will not allow it because they're like, well, we're the most important part of the league. You see it in the global numbers that are watched around the world.
Yeah.
It's massive. And the drop-off is huge between a West Ham Crystal Palace game comparative to an Arsenal Crystal Palace game, right? But we're at a point now where this FFP is just hindering everybody. So when you ask me the question of what do West Ham want to do, what can they do? What can any team do? Because the league themselves are preventing clubs from ever being able
Spot on, mate.
to truly compete when you put such restrictions on them, and at the same time, one of these top 6 can have 115 charges, and it will take a decade to deal with. I just think we're at a point now, and the Premier League have to be very careful, because what makes the Premier League great is the incredible competition around it, and not what makes it great is how many people are watching in other countries on TV.
I've just been told we lost you there. Can you say all that again for me? Is that
Sure.
right?
I've
about 9 minutes
I've
ago.
said it so many times.
James, what a pleasure. We've got a list of questions here away
You can
from
ask
football. We
him.
just don't have to. Have we got time for a couple? Oh, producer's good. Okay. So these
that, Ollie.
are just some lighter questions. We knew you were coming in, so our production boys and girls have put together some funny questions. Out of all the reality TV shows, does Celebrity Traitors tempt you the most? Would you do that?
I guess so, because at least there's an element of warmth. Oh no, I think the best sort of celebrity show is like Last One Laughing. Jimmy Carr show.
The first was
I would say it's that.
Bob Morton was genius. Question 2, with Ryan Reynolds and KSI doing it, would you ever want to own a football club?
Well, I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because on one level, your romantic side goes, yes, this would be amazing.
West Ham?
I fear, like if someone was buying West Ham and there was some kind of, I don't have the money to be able to do that sort of thing in any way, but I do think you could put in place some things at West Ham where you would start to be working 5 years ahead of where you are right now.
Would you like to be the new Karen Brady? Is that what you're saying?
I think I could do an okay job.
Question number, I think 3. If you were going to write a comedy about a sports team or story or an individual, who would it be? That's a tough question to throw on you. Would you like to write a sports comedy, I suppose?
I'd love to try and write a sports film. There was an amazing story. It's too long to tell you now, about an ice hockey player, which was an incredible story, which I've always thought would make an amazing film. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Who do you want to be next James Bond?
I'd really like it to be Callum Turner, because I think he's a good working class boy, and I think it would be great to see somebody from where he grew up.
Yeah.
Be James Bond. I think it would be great.
Okay. Last one. Okay, so West Ham might be going down. If they are going to stay up, maybe they need some kind of Smithy speech to inspire them. If they were listening now, what would Smithy say to them?
Well, you wouldn't be able to broadcast it. You wouldn't be able to broadcast it. His issues would be more with the. Well, no. The first thing should I tell you exactly what Smithy would say?
Yes, please.
He'd say, "Right, Nuno, I've got nothing but respect for you, and I like what you've done over the last 12 games. Okay, it's great. And maybe we wouldn't be in this position had when you come in, you played a right back, and a left back, and then I think it would have gone quite off the rails. But that is, I think, a massive issue as to why I think Nuno is brilliant. I hope he stays. I doubt he will, but I'd love it. And if he doesn't, it should be Scott Parker, no question.
Okay.
But why he came in and played a right back at left back and a left back at right back, I'll never be able to get my head around it.
No.
Ever.
Have you enjoyed your time on the Breakfast Show?
It's fantastic.
Thank you so much for
They've just asked me to take. They've just offered me the.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yours.
You know what, you've been so good today, James. You've actually won a pot of Goldstein's Golden Paste, available at damonbarber.com. There you go, that's for you.
That's all I've ever. Is it the yuzu? Yeah, okay,
yes.
good.
Have you smelled it? Have a little smell of it. That's a real thing. Have a little smell.
It's a medium hold.
That would look, yeah. What do you think?
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's yours.
That's lovely.
It gets signed by me as well. It's yours.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That's lovely.
All
And
right.
this will be available on eBay.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to give some to Gabby, but James, lovely. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. What a pleasure.
Let's a round of applause for the superstar, James Corden.